Продовжуємо засідання. Прошу запросити
We
Bubleynika
continue our interviews. Please invite Volodymyr Anatoliyovych Bubleynik.
Доброго дня. Розглядається питання щодо
Hello.
відповідності
We
кандидата.
are considering the conformity of the candidate Bubleynik Volodymyr Anatoliyovych with the criteria provided for by the law of Ukraine on High Anti-Corruption Court. In this hall, there are members of the Public Council of International Experts, John J. O'Sullivan, Jessica Lott Thompson, Norman S., Robert Burkhardt, Mary Butler, Gabriela Yotkaite, as well as Ukrainian members of HQCJ, Roman Sabadash, Ruslan Sabarovich, Savy Chumak, Valana Shevchuk, and others. You are entitled to recuse the members, express objections, and cancel, challenge the decisions. Will there be any recusals? No, thank you. Sidorovich Ruslan Mikhailovich will be your rapporteur. Thank you. So my brief intervention about the candidate Bubleynik Volodymyr Anatoliyovych by the decision of the HQCJ. The competition was announced to fill in 23 vacant position at the High Anti-Corruption Court and the Appellate Chamber of High Anti-Corruption Court. Within the established terms, Bubleynik Volodymyr Anatoliyovych applied to participate in this election to get the position of the HAC judge as someone who corresponds to Article 7 of the Law of Ukraine on High Anti-Corruption Court. And he asked the qualification assessment to be conducted by the decision of the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine of September 2025. Volodymyr Anatoliyovych was admitted to qualification assessment and participation in the competition. By the decision of the Commission of 19th of September 2025, the qualification assessment was appointed to fill in the vacant positions at the HAC and the HAC Appellate Chamber. By the decision of the Commission of 2025, the qualification assessment was appointed and the procedure was established by the decision of the HQCJ of February. The first results of the first stage were approved. Upon the results of the qualification assessment, Volodymyr Bubleynik scored 335.19 and was admitted to the next stage of interviews. A little bit about professional qualification. In 2002, Volodymyr Anatoliyovych graduated from the Legal Academy of the Ministry of Interior of Ukraine and got a full higher education in the area of law enforcement activities. In 2003, got the master's degree in law by the decision of the Specialist Scientific Council of Taras Shevchenko National University. Volodymyr Anatoliyovych was assigned a status of associate professor in the area of criminal law, criminology, and penitentiary law. From 2008 till 2015, was a professor at the departments of criminal law, criminology, labor, and agrarian law. Also taught civil law disciplines in Dnipropetrovsk State University of Internal Affairs. In 2013, the candidate got his attorney's license. From 2008 till 2015, also occupied position of legal counsel in the Ukrainian Union of people with visual impairments, and from 2015 to 2019 was a legal counselor to the director of the same enterprise. He has experience of at least 7 years in the area of law and masters Ukrainian language. That's general information about the candidate. Andrei, the floor is yours.
Можливо,
Thank you.
вважаєте за необхідне
Would you like to add something? If I may, I would like to add the candidate filed a petition to have a joint meeting of HQCJ and PCIe in the closed mode in relation to the location of the energy infrastructure items, only about that. And that's all the candidate is asking to discuss in the closed format. All right, thank you. Was everything correct? All the basic information? Would you like to add something? I would like to add, you mentioned that the attorney's license was issued in 2013. It was issued in 2010. Actually, in 2013, I received a copy because I lost the previous attorney's license, but the actual original date is 2010. All right, as to the petition filed by the applicant, the candidate, I suggest if we have questions about the energy infrastructure facilities, as we approach this topic of discussion, we will consider the petition. And for now, we will just remember about it. But if you do not object, I suggest we move to the closed format later if needed. Thank you, Mr. Robert. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I pass the floor to Jessica, who's the rapporteur. Please go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you, Mr. Volodymyr Anatoliyovych. My name is Jessica Locke-Thompson. I'm a lawyer and former prosecutor from Canada. You've been introduced already to the other members of the PCIe, but I will introduce them to you so you can see on the screen is Mary Butler on the left-hand side, who is a prosecutor from the United States. And to the other side is Gabrielle. She is a judge and scientist from Lithuania. We have to my left Mr. John O'Sullivan, who is a former judge of the United States and a former prosecutor. We have also Robert, who is our chairman. He is a former prosecutor and a lawyer in the Netherlands. And Norman, who is a former prosecutor and lawyer from Estonia. So congratulations for reaching this stage of the process. It is a detailed process with many questions and many steps. So congratulations on your achievement to arrive to this joint session. I'll be asking you questions today about 4 main topics, and I would strongly encourage you to use time management, which is also one of the skills of a judge, to adjust your answers so that they are concise and clear and that they directly address the question. It's in your best interest for us to be able to address all 4 of the issues I'd like to raise with you today during this public transparent session. I will let you know that also the topics that we will discuss are topics that have already been discussed with you in the written questions. And so you are aware of all of these topics. We've already had an opportunity to exchange information on these topics. However, the public and this transparent broadcast is not aware of your written answers. So often you perhaps will wish to simply repeat the written answer that you've already given. That's okay. Or if you wish to add anything additionally, please feel free. Okay. So before I begin, do you have any questions for me or any concerns?
No, thank you.
Yeah, and you should, you can leave your microphone on if you wish, and speak into the microphone for the translation. So the first area of questioning I'd like to discuss with you is about the energy infrastructure. So I understand that there is a motion in relation to this, so perhaps we should address this procedural issue before we begin.
Гаразд. Тобто розглядаємо клопотання.
All right, let's then consider the motion.
Переходимо до закритого режиму.
Let's move to the closed mode.
Продовжуємо засідання. Нагадаю, ми
We will continue our interview. I will remind you that we are back live,
на каналі YouTube
and
комісії.
there is a broadcast on the YouTube channel of the Commission. The Commission and the PCAE members have considered your motion, and it is rejected. We will continue our interview in the open mode,
І ви, і ми будемо
but both you and us will try to mention this topic with the minimum number of identifying
Джесіка.
specifics. Please, Jessica.
Thank you. Mr. Volodymyr Anatoliyovych, according to your declaration, you have acquired a number of houses in a village. 7 of those houses were transferred to you free of charge by the village council. Can you please explain why the local council decided to transfer these houses to you? Why were they transferred free of charge to you? Please explain the circumstances.
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for the question.
Справа в тому, що я на пояснення надавав свої пояснення.
I provided my written explanations, and I tried to explain that these houses, as such, were of no value. So for you to understand, it's just an uninhabited street, and for over 20 years there are no residents there. Why is the village council interested in inhabiting these territories? First, when there are residents, the taxes are being paid, and for example, in 1 year, one of the districts paid 14,829. It's a tax on real estate in 1 year, which goes to the local council. Secondly, according to the current legislation, 50% of the tax paid from the income from generation goes to the benefit of territorial communities. Volodymyr, please, we cannot hear you very well. Speak into the microphone. So in this case, if we look at the information, a lot of taxes go to the local budget, and the village councils are interested in that. By the way, there are district heads who invite investors in their locations to develop these territories, and thanks to those people, there are districts where there are no electricity outages because there is a sufficient amount of own generation, which allows to satisfy the needs of these districts and even help other cities, surrounding cities. So in that case, that was the interest of the territorial community, because they would like to get taxes. For them, it's a huge money, and for that territorial community, it's small. For them, it's a lot, a huge income to the budget, because their salaries are 8,000-9,000 hryvnias. Moreover, I didn't note it in the explanation.
So were you the only person who received houses from the local council for this purpose of creating some energy infrastructure, or were there other properties transferred to other individuals? What was the process the local council used to choose you? And did they choose any other people?
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for the question. As far as I know, I'm not the only one, even within that specific territorial community. From what I know, there are 2 other people who got these houses according to a similar scheme. And I do not know about any relations of those other people. I was only interested in my candidacy, and it was them who had the initiative, and they offered to give these objects.
Did you apply? Was this a program that was advertised that you applied to? Did you approach the local council Was it on your own initiative? How did this happen?
Дякую за запитання. Ні, спеціальної
Thank you for the
програми
question.
не було.
No, there was no special program. It was a very popular thing in those years. Those who could, well, I was found, I was invited to have a discussion on this topic, and I had no other conversations. Like there were no other programs to do the same.
Did you sign any agreements or obligations with the local council regarding the use of these houses?
Я брав на себе, дякую за запитання.
Yes, thank you for the question. I did undertake the obligation to pay the tax on immovable property, and it's hard for me to remember whether I signed any documents. Well, I did, but not all the objects were provided free of charge. Only when there was a title of ownership, and we had to change it according to the norms of the then legislation.
Use these land plots under the houses. What is the legal basis for your use? Do you have a formal right of use or a lease or a legal title? What is the exact legal basis of your use of the property?
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for the question. I was interested in only one document necessary for the electric supply company to get generation from the solar power plant. It was the extract from the state register of ownership right to real estate. I was provided this extract. I was not present at the village council session. I was not interested in the consideration of this topic. I was interested in the final document confirming the title of ownership to a certain real estate because the electric supply company required it. But everything outside of requirements of this company was not my interest.
And so when did you begin power generation or solar panel installation in these properties?
Перший запуск відбувся перших двох станцій, здається, в
The first launch was in
2019
July 2019,
в цьому
and the last one
регіоні були запущені вже через
was
півтора року. Вона
in
початку 2021 року.
early 2021.
Вони були оформлені документально трохи раніше, але фактично
So that was registered officially earlier, but then construction took place and they were put into operation. Those units, by the time the generation started,
You have installed the installation of these facilities was done personally by yourself with the help of your brother, and you have been unable to provide any financial documents for the cost and value of these installations or for the labor for their creation. Can you please explain exactly what you mean by that you did this work alone with your brother and with materials that were donated, or that you have no record of the costs of those materials?
Дякую за запитання. Так,
thank
дійсно,
you for your
роботи
question.
виконували самостійно.
Yes, indeed. I did the works on my own, and the works are of two types. First, construction, installation of the pillars and the foundation that holds solar panels. And then the second type of works, electronic works, plugging the solar panels into the other parts of the equipment to
свердловин невеличких, бетонування
Also, we did some drilling work, digging, then plugging the solar panels into the meter. I'm not really knowledgeable about it, so my brother helped me. And regarding the launch, once the installation was ready, it was launched by the energy supplier, and their work is free of charge.
Have any professional education or qualifications in electrical engineering, power generation systems, including technical issues such as inverters, mounting structures, grid connection? Do you have this engineering and electrical knowledge in order to be able to safely carry out this work?
Дякую за питання. У мене, я ще раз підкреслю, таких знань немає. Цим займався.
I have no such knowledge. Therefore, my brother dealt with it. I emphasize it again. But in fact, it's not that complicated. All those 6 lines that are connected, and they are connected to the inverter. The scheme is quite simple, and the grid connection is done by the energy supplier that provides a brigade that comes in and does the actual work.
With regards to the money in your declaration connected with the income from these solar panels over the course of several years, you have declared that approximately almost $500,000 in US dollars in income from power generation with these solar panels. There is existing in Ukraine a program for household or domestic power generation. Typically, approximately 7,000 hryvnias per month could be the average or approximate maximum that could be raised by a single dwelling household program for green power generation. How do you explain the lack of a business license for this operation, which in your own declaration has now earned almost or approximately $500,000 US, which is wildly in excess of what could normally be raised through the domestic program for green energy?
Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for your question. For international experts, I could explain regarding the subtleties of our law in this area. There is a law on alternative sources of energy that allows a private household to install solar power station until up to 30 kilowatts. As of law 2019, the number of such households belonging to one owner was not limited, and I'm not a single owner like this. And one owner can have 70 solar power stations in different households. Later on, it was limited, and new owners that wanted to install a second solar power station couldn't do it. Back then, I complied with the current law, and I didn't need to have a business license under the legislation. And regarding the second aspect of your question, the amount of power generated by an installation 30 kilowatt is much more than 7,000, is worth much more than 7,000 hryvnia. In our region, solar power station 30 kilowatt produces 6,000 kilowatt. If we multiply 6,000 kilowatt by the tariff of green energy minus taxes, it's about 40,000 hryvnia. So there is no limitation on the money earned by the power production. So the only limitation is to not exceed 30 kilowatt threshold. So the amount earned is not limited. In Kyiv Oblast, we will have one type amount of generation in Lviv, and in other oblasts it will be different because it depends on the number of solar days and so on.
My final question relates to your asset declaration. In Section 5, despite the economic value and business potential of these power generation installations, you did not declare them as valuable movable property in your asset declaration in Section 5. This is my final question on this topic, and then I'd like to move on since we've used a lot of time on this topic.
Thank you for the question. So I understand the question. When I state that I have a movable property, I need to evaluate it. I cannot evaluate this property for different reasons. First, amortization, wear and tear. So the most costly device is inverter, and they don't have their guarantee anymore. So it's a producer, Huawei, lifted the guarantee. So that inverter doesn't cost anything anymore. The solar panels in the secondary markets, because they have been exploited for a long time, they couldn't be sold. So their power is to 282.
About this topic, actually. So I'd like you to imagine that you were selected to be a judge of the High Anti-Corruption Court, and you were facing the examination of the financial circumstances of a witness or somebody involved in a case. And there was a business that generated $500,000 US over a period of a few years, and that did not have a business license, and that was also had no assets that could be explained of the source of how the assets were acquired to create that business. There was no documents or explanation or receipts or invoices from the materials that were used to create that business. And also that business was not, no items related to that business were declared by that witness as part of the valuable movable property. As a High Anti-Corruption Court judge, what areas of the law of Ukraine would you use to examine that sort of situation? And how would you respond as a judge with those facts?
Thank you for your question. Well, I don't really imagine myself a high court judge at the moment. But regarding the Ukrainian law, I would analyze the legal grounds of that person acquiring possibility to engage in these activities. It looks like business activities, but under the Ukrainian law, the difference between individual, household, and activities and licensed business lies in one and only aspect: who is the tax agent and who pays money for that. My tax agent is the energy supplier company. I can see that they pay taxes when I get a satisfaction note. So if I was involved in business and got a license, it would be my duty. But in this case, I don't see a problem about it, and I wouldn't see it as a high court judge, as long as the Ukrainian law provides for that. And at this stage, I cannot even sell my equipment and installations, even if I wanted to alienate them, because no one would buy it. The law bans the ownership of two solar power panels, so they are dead. They will stay with me. I cannot alienate them to anyone.
Okay. I'm going to move on to another topic. You have, according to the State Register of Powers of Attorney, you've issued several powers of attorney authorizing persons to dispose of apartments in Georgia. I won't provide any addresses or exact locations, but can you please describe your legal exact relationship with these apartments in Georgia and any investment activity or, please describe this situation.
Дякую за запитання. Так, дійсно.
Thank you for your question.
Десь період 2016-2017
From 2016 to 2017, approximately, we had a Georgian company, very hyped company. They were very popular. They offered a couple to make a couple of visits to Georgia, and they were so welcoming that I agreed to sign a contract with them. Compared to our law, it is something in the middle between purchase and sale agreement and investment contract, but it looked to me more as a investment contract. And then throughout 6 years, it seems, we have had interviews and disputes. I went there in order to understand when investment would start working. It never happened. By 2024,
just sort of stop you there because we're very short on time. Can you explain the sources of funds that were used for this investment? Which were the sources of funds for this investment?
Дякую за запитання. Ну, по-перше, я працював
thank you for this question. From 2008, I started working full-time, and I had significant income that is reflected in the declarations. Then I provided my statement about the source of income to build power stations still.
From your own declarations, your own income is the source of funds. You stated that the project was unsuccessful and that you recovered the invested funds. I believe you've stated that this happened in 2024, that you were able to recover the invested funds. Please explain what amount you were able to recover or some information about how that recovery happened, and also why the recovery of invested funds was not included in your declaration in 2024.
Дякую.
Thank you. In 2024, at the moment that I issued the power of attorney, the individual was in Georgia, and that person found a customer, and I recovered $32,000. After that, I forgot about that project, and I didn't reflect it in my declaration. 2024, I wasn't the subject of declaration when I submitted the declaration. In declaration for 2024, I didn't include it as income because by late 2024, I no longer owned that object, and I thought that I no longer needed to reflect it in the declaration.
Okay. So you just forgot. About $32,000 US, like you just forgot, basically.
Я не забув їх.
Yeah.
I did not forget.
Я забув про проєкт. Я вибачаюсь, не забув про
I forgot about the project. I recovered $32,000. I recovered them at the moment of the power attorney.
Sorry, it's a challenge sometimes with the interpretation. The meanings of words can be directly translated, but it can be challenging to follow. I'm going to ask you about another issue. There is a loan of $200,000 that you made in 2025. to an individual. I don't need to name that person here. It's included in the materials and HQCJ is aware. Please explain your relationship to that person and what was the source of funds that you used to provide this $200,000 US loan to this other individual.
Дякую за питання.
Thank you for this question. So in the declaration 2024, that money was reflected as income, 150,000, then as income in 2025, and that income did not arrive in one period. So that person provided a pledge, and I'm not concerned about the rest of the sum. And the tax return of 2025 reflects that.
So was the conditions of that loan set out in an agreement or any kind of formal documents? And has any part of that loan now been repaid to you since you made it in September of 2025?
Дякую за питання. Повністю ми визначили у нотаріуса, зустрічались.
So we met at the notary office. It was a agreement in order to have no doubts about that. My wife was present at this point, so it is legally compliant.
Questions on these topics for you as well. I have one final topic I'd like to discuss with you. We're getting very close to the end of our time. In your integrity declaration, there was some gaps in your discussion of whether you had made any trips to the Russian Federation since January of 2015. However, according to the available registry data, you have visited the Russian Federation several times after 2015, including in 2019. Can you please explain these trips, the reasons for these trips? You can specify any exact dates and duration of these visits. How long did you stay, etc. Please tell us why you were traveling to the Russian Federation and why you did not declare it proactively.
Thank you for your question. So I actually stated that I visited the territory of the Russian Federation. My mother comes from Kursk Oblast. This is Russian Federation currently. And that village where my mother was born, from 1996, I would spend summer there. I loved my grandparents. My mother, before her death, asked me to tend to their graves later on. And my visits were very short, maybe 1 or 2 day trips, because I needed to provide more support. And during my visits, I only talked to the Russian officials that were necessary to cross the border, border control, customs officers. And this is it. What I can state as explanation. My mother was born there.
Yes or no, if you had any contacts with representatives of Russian authorities or official institutions other than these routine border procedures that you've mentioned?
No, I don't.
All my questions. I'll pass it back to our chair and see if we have any other PCIe members would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Jessica. Mary? No? Gabriella? No? Yeah, I have a question, if you don't mind, because I'm listening to you and I'm wondering how what you say is or something. What you say that you built the installations over time. And I understand that you obtained most of the equipment from private individuals. That's what you say, yeah? Did you obtain this? Yes. And that, do I also understand that the system was connected to the grid free of charge?
Дякую за
Correct?
Correct.
Yes. And by the supplier? So someone supplied it. Because in my system, I cannot understand that you're buying this stuff from individuals. I would say you buy it in a shop. Or just, did you buy it from your neighbor?
Дякую за питання. Є
Thank you for
два
your question.
три елементи головних для
There are three elements for solar power construction. So first, materials that is bought in the market, metal and wires. We don't need receipts for that even. Then
With the panels themselves.
inverters.
Yes. So that means that you have evidence of buying this, I would guess.
Звичайно, купував.
Yes, I did buy it.
So you have some documentation regarding the price of the project.
На частину енергообладнання, яке
Well, regarding the materials that was brand new, I bought it brand new, 6 inverters. I've got documentation on them, but they go without receipts. And I also have technical passports for all the 6 inverters. Other inverters were second-hand. They would stand 6 months in some location and then and it was used for some time.
From an individual, is that what you say? Or did you buy it from a shop or for a company?
Приватних осіб.
From individuals. Part was ordered through internet, on the internet. So I would find an ad of inverters, then panels. Another big station was being sold. And I, as a private individual, I bought that material, I bought those panels as a private individual.
Okay.
And I was not really concerned about documentation.
And then you say, I cannot put a value on what I have because no one wants to buy it. That I don't understand either. Because in my mind, anything that creates money, and this creates money, has value because there's always someone who's willing to pay for something that creates money. So I don't understand that there would be no buyers, as you say.
Два аспекти. Дякую за запитання.
Thank you for your question. 2 aspects. So first, that material has been exploited for 7 years. It lost its value because of wear and tear. And as of today, such inverters are no longer produced and are no longer installed.
What I say is that it generates electricity, so it generates money. Yes, and if something generates money, there will always be a buyer. That's my statement. And you explained to me that this stuff is 7 years old, and even though it generates money, and quite some money, no one wants to buy it. And that I don't understand.
Дякую за запитання. Я вже відповідав
Thank
на
you for
нього.
your question. I've already answered it. So our legislation since 2022 has been modified, and it is no longer possible to buy the solar power station that generates power. I cannot sell it. A person cannot have two solar power stations in their household. People are no longer interested in buying such movable property. Then the tariff that the power is generated by will be valid until 2029, and there are only 3 years to go for this station to still operate. And it's hard to find a customer, even though this power station generates income. It's hard to find a customer who would be interested in that.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from me. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Пане Руслане, будь ласка.
Ruslan, please.
Дякую. Декілька
Thank you.
уточнюючих запитань по
Just a couple more questions regarding the story about objects. So installation of the units was done by your brother. The grid connection and the assembly works, we did those together. How much time did assembly work of one station, including panels, inverters, connections, the whole installation? How many of those you have? 13. How much time does it take to assemble and launch one installation? So thank you for your question. First object, if we evaluate from 0 until launch, 2 weeks. It would take 2 weeks if we work the whole working day. And for the first objects, it took 3 months. So I'd like to understand it. So you installed it, you were installing that for a year and 7 months, since 2019. Yeah, okay. Now, I'd like to clarify one more thing. Regarding 2 objects, you provided purchase and sale agreements. Regarding the rest, 7 objects, you said that they were transferred to you free of charge for the following reasons. A part of the tax from private individuals, from power generation, was on the village shoulders. Those 7 objects in the same village, and they should be adjacent, were acquired by you in 2022-2023. And there are appropriate decisions by the local self-governance body. There are dates, right? And in the first place, in 2022-2023, there was no green tariff. This is one thing. Second thing, in 2022-2023, there was no legal notion as tax from private individuals, income tax. There was no such tax. It was a different thing. It was obligation of private individuals before different institutions. How can you explain that those 7 objects were transferred to you for privatization in the mentioned years?
Thank you for the question. I tried to answer it at the request of the PCIe. Well, you haven't. There was no answer. Thank you. I cannot adequately answer this question because it was the local council which worked on it. It's clear that in 2022 2002, I was not around, so how they formalized everything, that was my interest. I wanted to get the extract from the state register to provide it to the energy company. I was not even present during the council session where they considered it, so I don't know what were the legal ways the village council made this decision. I would like to understand, you were not applying, so the self-government body, without you knowing, transfers free of charge 7 items of real estate to you. I signed the document on the transfer of these documents of this property free of charge. All right, because it would be strange that you are forced to acquire these items. All right, you acquired items of civil law relations. You're a lawyer and a candidate to the position of a judge. So what was the basis? I understand when it's a privatization of one house. We all live in Ukraine. We all remember 90s, beginning of 2000, but we're talking about 7 items here in 2002, 2003. What was the basis? I'm not saying that these grounds were unlawful. Just tell us about them. Thank you for the question. When we discussed this topic, the chair said, the head of the village council stated that everything would be addressed during the session. I was not present there, and how they dealt with the legal ways to transfer these objects is unclear. I understand that one way is by the decision of the self-government body, but I understand your question. I don't have the answer. So for us not to beat around the bush, you cannot explain what are the legal grounds of you acquiring these items in 2002, 2003. It was the decision of the village council. But what was the legal basis of this decision? It's unclear for you. Yes, all right. Ruslan Mykolaievich, may I ask one clarifying question? You cannot state what were the legal grounds, but what were the motives for the village council to transfer these facilities to you? From the moment when the tax on real estate is paid, excuse me, in 2002, 2003, there was no such thing as the real property tax. It appeared much later. I applied to the village council in 2017 and in 2019, and we talk about it. We are talking about the years 2002, 2003. Why are you talking to us about 2019? I'm trying to explain. Thank you for the question. I'm trying to explain that I tried to clarify all of this in 2019. I was not interested how the village council was making this decision. Sorry, what kind of decisions you're talking about? The decision of the village council session, when was it made? I don't know. How did you formalize the title of authorship? I was provided the extracts. What were the dates in the extracts? Didn't you have the question about these dates? Back then, I was not interested in that. Okay, back to my first question. Why would the village council do that? Why would they provide these objects to you? Did the village council call you? Village council had called you and say, let's meet each other. We have a few objects. Well, it's maybe exaggerated, but we met each other. They were directly interested because they get 50% of from the tax on the income on private individuals. Okay, so their motives were to get funds to their budget. Okay, why did they contact you specifically? There were people and acquaintances, and the head of the village council was looking for people who were interested in investing into the village. I considered it. First, we bought 2 houses, which were located not too far, and there was a purchase and sales agreement, and then we kept working like that. May I sum up? In 2019, you got the title of ownership. No. You found out about the title of ownership to the houses that were transferred to you by the decision of the village council session in 2002-2003, and you did nothing to formalize the real estate that you acquired. So you are saying you just got the extracts. The extracts on the state registration of property rights to the real estate. I cannot understand that. Look, here's how it looks. I've been working as a lawyer for some time, so I remember what the legislation looked like before. In 2002-2003, we had the civil code of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and the title, the ownership appeared at the moment when the contract was signed. So you got it in 2002-2003. In 2004, the new civil code was adopted, and the title of ownership, according to the Article 334 of the civil code, appears at the moment of state registration. To formalize the legal relations related to the electricity production and to get the benefits, you used the documents and added information to the state register of property rights to real estate in 2019, and that's how the state discovered the registration. And the state register of real estate started working in 2013. That's how it looks. You got the documents confirming your ownership in 2003. In 2019, you added this information to the register, and no questions here about the legality. But there is a question. Well, you must admit, not every individual acquires 7 houses from the local self-government. Why did it happen? Thank you for the question. I answered because they are interested. They were looking for people who would be interested in coming to the village and paying money which would go to the budget. They were doing everything to attract such people. Look, for example, a local self-government body issues a decision to transfer the ownership to you. Let's suppose it happened like that, because it's an unusual story. I haven't seen anything like that. And you, as a professional lawyer, as a professor of a number of disciplines, take the document, and the document says that your ownership was formalized in 2002-2003. That should have been a concern for you, because either these were documents issued with an improper date, or something was wrong. There must have been a mistake in the document. And if we follow your reasoning that you were not aware of your ownership of the 7 objects till 2019, you must have had some suspicions. Well, as a lawyer, I understand everything you're saying. If I bought this for real funds. If I paid according to the purchase and sales agreement, I would check the history of these items. I would try to research whether it's legal. Excuse me for interrupting, we don't have much time. If you are provided a document that causes some doubts, but it's free, no need to check it. Like someone gives you a Mercedes and saying that it's for free, you won't be interested whether it's stolen or how it was acquired. Well, I do not think it's a relevant comparison, but I sent the photos of these facilities, and it cannot be really called a real estate. I wasn't worried about that. I understand what you're trying to say. Dear colleagues, I suggest we stop discussing this and continue. Next question. The PCIe asked this question, and obviously this is a question which is logical. You do not indicate any right to use the land plot. You do not pay the tax for using this land plot. So basically, what are your civil rights to these land plots where the installations are located? Thank you for the question. It's also a question from several dimensions. There are some items that were required by the contract of purchase and sale. No, we are talking about the 7 installations that you do not reflect. You do not pay anything for using those land plots. Well, the tax for using the land is accrued, and the village council once in 2 years sends the tables with the sums, and if you see the sums accrued in the cabinet, they are not visible. I only pay to the village council, but the houses are located in the land plots that belong to the village council. Then I have a question to you as a lawyer. You basically used the land plot. So you have a civil right. It can be called in different ways. Like the easement. Thank you. We have the civil code which establishes the difference between the real estate item and land plot. I cannot formalize it now. Why? Because there has to be the project drafted. I do not need to do it right now. Well, that's strange. Then in 2023, according to the data from the tax service, you got the income in March from selling real estate in the amount of 5,000 hryvnias, and according to the register of vehicles, you alienated the vehicle. Was it the income from that alienation? It's 2023. Did you sell the vehicle? Yes, but the cost was $6,000. Not 5,000 hryvnias. Okay, and my last question. We will dive into history, but nevertheless, according to the resolution of the Bubleynik District Court, you were charged with violating a traffic code. And I will quote from the court ruling. You were driving Toyota vehicle with the lights off during the night time and tried to flee from the moment from the place where he was detected by the route inspectors, and your place of work is indicated, your personal data is indicated, everything coincides with your true personal data. Can you comment on that? Yes, there was such a case, but there is a different interpretation. 2010 and 2011 were the years when I taught and I gave low marks, and the court made this ruling in exchange to not disclosing the marks, because the group consisted of the road service inspectors, and the district court didn't want to continue the conflict, and it was decided that I wouldn't be charged, but the topic of falsifying evidence wouldn't be raised. All right. Since we do not have time, I will not ask any clarifying questions. I have one clarifying question about it. But all other circumstances are real. You were stopped and you were sent to a medical institution and you refused to take the medical test. No, we didn't reach even the medical institution. We didn't reach the medical institution. The conversation was clear. They let me go on our way, and that's it. And later in the ruling, I discovered that additional circumstance. Did you draft the protocol? No, I didn't sign it. But in the materials of the court decision, there is a protocol signed by the witnesses. All right, no other questions. Colleagues? Dear PCIe members, do you have any other additional questions?
No, everyone is shaking no, Mr. Chair. So,
Добре, дякую. Пане Володимире, вам надається можливість звернутися до
Thank you.
комісії.
Then, Volodymyr, you get a chance to talk to the Commission and to PCIe members if you need to provide additional information. I would like to thank the esteemed members of the Public Council of International Experts and the High Qualification Commission of Judges. You are doing a very significant thing for our country. I hope that one day our president will make a statement. We do not need a high anti-corruption court, nothing to do in this area. For now, I'm thanking for your job. Thank you.